to us about developments in the sector, especially with some recent developments happening. Of course, Ali Baba is still with us this morning. He will be joining us to talk about these developments as well. I.D Cabasa, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us at this point.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Of course, we have Ali Baba here, who is going to be asking questions as well. Now, in the wake of the death of MohBad, several issues have come up, and you have made statements that seem to be pointing in several directions. Now, we'd like you to shed some lights into the challenges that artists face within the industry.
Okay, so first and foremost, I will say that the video that I made, the live video that I made, obviously, because of the way social media is now, a whole lot of things were misquoted. And many of the things that I was trying to really focus on, which are some of the things we'll be talking about today, they were taken out of context. Now, obviously, conversations are coming out, people are talking, emotions are running, and a whole lot is actually happening now because of the death of MohBad. It is actually good that we are having this conversation, but we also need to pay attention to a whole lot of sensationalism that has gotten into the conversation. The conversation is losing focus because if there is any major conversation that we should be having now is to make sure that beyond MohBad getting justice, MohBad too should get peace. MohBad should get peace in place of, okay, whatever he has sacrificed himself for with this particular incident, there should not be a reoccurrence of some of the things that he actually faced with his record label while he was around. Now, I am not here to lay blame to say one person is right or the other person is wrong. But if we look at it, most times we focus so much on the problems that the artist faced. We don't also pay attention to some of the dilemma that the record labels too they face. So it is almost like two sick people trying to heal themselves. You cannot be sick and expect someone that is also sick to donate blood to you. Record labels are not to run based on emotions. They are not to run based on soulish feelings. I tell people that there are two ways to look at the music thing. There's a business of music, then there's the music business. The music business deals with, marketing and all of the money side of music. Why the business of making music too has to do with us making the song that needs to be put out and all of that. The part of making music can be a lot emotional because at the end of the day, there's so much soul behind it. You are trying to reach out to people's emotion. You are trying to get to the emotions and all of that. That can carry a lot of emotion and still carry loads of logic too. But you see, the part of the music business is a game of numbers, is a game of contracts, is a game of pure facts, is a game of logic. But a whole lot of creatives get into the music industry or music space, as we rightly call it too, with just the emotional part of their being. And those emotions, I'm not saying that they are invalidated, they are very valid. And a whole lot of them are also coming to the table with their survival mode. In fact, that survival mode is a major thing that needs to be addressed because the survival mode, coming into that space with a survival mode is not wrong, but it needs to be looked into. Most people sign contracts that they don't understand. I'm not saying that they didn't read, because there's a place of reading and there's a place of understanding. Scriptures say that my people die for lack of knowledge, but this one is actually not lack of knowledge, rather it is ignorance. Ignorance is ignoring knowledge that is available. Most of us, we need to start celebrating our ignorance in things that we don't know. And in celebrating our ignorance in things we don't know, we are supposed to get people that know those things that we don't know. Outsourcing your ignorance, outsourcing your weak point, and outsourcing those part of contract means that before you even think of getting a manager, get yourself a lawyer. The lawyer from the record label, the lawyer from the artist part can come in together, look at a contract, discuss with their different clients, and they will let them see probably the loopholes or some of the things that they deem unfair. Contract, and they will get this thing resolved. Let me quickly say this, that there is no contract that is actually bad. It's your interpretation of the contract. and your decision to either sign or not sign that will make the either good or bad. And the best thing you can do for yourself as an artist is, if the contract is not favorable to you, your greatest worth is actually to walk out and not sign.
Okay. All right. ID, what I would like you to speak to is the common issue of where the record label, because we don't have record companies now, we just have the labels, where the record label has invested an amount of money, they've not recouped their money, and then the artist wants to opt out. Most times, it is maybe the contract is for 5 years and the release of 3 albums, and then they release one, and after the first one, they want to opt out. What should happen? How can either the record label recoup their money, or how can the artist who wants to opt out, remember Soli Baba when he had his issue, what should be done? What can be done? Because that happens to be the major issue, where an artist wants to opt out of a contract, his contractual agreements have not been fulfilled, and the artist, the record label says that you can't go without fulfilling your contractual agreement. What should happen?
Thank you so very much, boss. So I'm sure you know this question. I've actually seen one you actually going to talk about what from experience and some of the things that I've also found that, because I actually had to take out some time to study the law around these things. Now, a contract was signed, which means it is no longer bound. Whatever relationship the artist and the label actually have is no longer bounded by, in quotes, love. It is bounded by that contract, which is to say that if either is going to walk out of the contract, there are always consequences. Either the artist is going to pay back every monies that have been spent on the artist with interest. If it is the label that wants to move out of the contract, the label too is going to pay the artist, I think, some compensation and all of that. That is what contract says. So what I would rather say now here, in the light of the recent happening, is these things don't get settled by us fighting, which was why I said when people sign contracts, you should sign as sworn enemies and work as best of friends. You can still be friends and still get out of contract. The contract, especially when you have 2 lawyers as witnesses when you are signing the contract, if they either wants to move out, you have conversations and there's no point that you are agreeing. Get the 2 lawyers in, take this up, and either they settle out of court or they go to court. But in all cases, which is what I'm going to focus on, people need to understand that for an artist to blow, to get relevant, major monies are spent. I am saying big monies are spent. So every time the artist eventually blows and is hearing the figures that they are paying them, and they are looking at what they are taking, not putting into cognizance that there was a time that without bringing anything to the table, loads of monies have been pumped into you, and you start to complain, you start to look at some of these things. So that was why I said it is better you know what you are bringing to the table to negotiate with, so that the time will not come and story that thought will start to come in that they are cheating me, they are doing this, they are doing that. These things can always be resolved. It can be resolved, in fact, not it can, it should be resolved using the law. You signed contracts using the law. Resolve it with the law, not with fights, not with any sort of violence. Yeah.
All right, I.D Cabasa, thank you very much for giving us your time at this point to explain all of this and to give us your own view on the issues, the lingering issues in the music industry in Nigeria. Thank you very much, Ali Baba. Of course, we are